You want to buy a house, but you barely have any money saved. Despite this, you found a lender willing to give you a loan with low or no down payment. And they'll also allow you to roll your other costs into the loan. Awesome, right? Well, it depends on how much you want to spend. To understand this, we must have a basic grasp of how interest works as well as how your payments work by looking at something called an amortization schedule. An amortization schedule maps out exactly how much of each of your mortgage payments gets applied to your principal balance versus your interest payment. So let's get started. First, straight up interest payments. Let's assume here a purchase price of $200,000 and all your costs for this loan, including closing costs, fees, and even escrow funding amounts, can be rolled into the loan. Yes, even your escrows. I once had someone tell me I was ridiculous for thinking they'd need to have cash up front to close because their lender allowed them to roll their escrows into their loan. Man, your escrows are your money. This is money that the bank simply wants you to pay up front to get your account started, so there'll be money available to pay the upcoming property taxes and insurance. You'll have to pay it in the next year, but they want you to fund it up front. Rolling it into your loan means you are paying the bank interest on your own savings. Come on, man. So how does interest work? Well, if you take $1,000 at 10% annual interest, it looks like this. 10% divided by 12 months a year is 0.83% per month. So in the first month, there's $1,000 times 0.83%. This equals $8.33 in interest. Assuming no payments happen, in month 2, you start with a new principal balance of $1,008.33. Another 8.3% interest that month on $1,008.33 is another $8.37 in interest, leaving you with an ending balance of $1,016.70, and on until some principal starts getting paid back. That's basically how compounding interest works. An amortization table shows you exactly what percent of your fixed monthly payment is going to be applied to your principal balance versus your interest payment. At the start, most of the payment goes towards interest and very little to principal. But sure enough, as the principal is paid down, less is needed to cover the interest payment. Look at these two graphs of the same loan where the escrow amounts don't change, but look how interest and principal change over 30 years. Most people recommend you put down at least 20% on a house, but you can find loans with no and lower down payment requirements such as 3 to 10%. Most of you probably want a 3% down payment because you think it's what's the payment mentality instead of in a what will this cost me mentality. So a 20% down payment on this $200,000 house would be $40,000. A 3% down payment would be $6,000. A so-called savings of $34,000, right? Yeah, maybe. Let's assume this lender allows you to roll your costs into the loan and you save an extra 10 grand. Awesome. Sure, okay. So your total savings on this is $44,000 and you only need $6,000 cash up front to close this loan for the down payment. This means you'll be paying interest on this $44,000 for the next 30 years. And some of it is your actual savings that was supposed to be used to pay your taxes and insurance. So what does this mean? Let's look at our payments in these two scenarios. Scenario 1 is we pay 20% down and also pay cash at closing for all of our costs and escrows. This means our $200,000 purchase price less $40,000 down payment gives us a mortgage loan of $160,000. Scenario 2 is we pay 3% down in cash, but are so-called allowed to roll everything else into the loan, and that's about $10,000. So our $200,000 purchase price plus $10,000 in fees minus the $6,000 down payment we have to pay in cash leaves a mortgage loan of $204,000. Note in this scenario, we're already at negative equity, i.e. you are underwater on this loan. So we'll assume for a 30-year loan at 4.5% interest for each scenario. Using Excel to calculate our payment with the 20% down, we see that it will be $810.70 per month for principal and interest. Our payment on the 3% down loan with the privilege of rolling everything into it will be $1,033.64 a month. This is a difference of $222.94 every month. Over 30 years, that's over $80,000 or over $2,600 every year. So your genius move of rolling it all in means the bank allowed you to start your home ownership underwater with negative equity, and that so-called savings of $44,000, it cost you $80,000, meaning you paid almost twice what you should have. Now, before you yell at me about inflation eating away at this and being able to deduct it on your taxes and all those other tricks that marketers use to get you to pay them for more money, think about this. Do you have an extra $222 to pay every month? And how much will you really save on your taxes? Remember, the deduction is only a fraction of what you actually pay. Let's assume your tax rate is 15% and you actually still itemize after the new tax changes. Remember, the standard deduction has increased this year to $12,000 if you're single, $24,000 if you're married. Total interest paid on this loan in the first year is just $9,100. So you can reduce your taxable income by $9,100. The taxes you would otherwise pay on that is 15% times $9,100 or $1,365. So you're spending an extra $9,000 per year and sending that money to the bank to avoid paying the government $1,300 a year and instead keeping that money in your own hands? Yep, real smart, genius. This assumes you itemize. If you don't, then you're not even receiving any tax benefit at all. Now remember, the point here is to demonstrate that just because it sounds good now to get a house for no or little money out of pocket doesn't always mean it's a good idea. If you aren't financially set to buy, then wait. There are plenty of great rentals available while you get yourself into a good financial situation. And remember, every single person in the history of people who have ever bought a house has a cousin named Murphy, and trust me, he will show up that first year with his own law with some big expenses if you don't have the financial means to weather that storm. He never fails. If you're looking to make a move this year and either buying or selling a home, give me a call. I'm Mike Topman, 508-386-5000, or visit me on Facebook at facebook.com/Mike W. Topman. Thanks.